In part 4 we're going to be blocking in the colour. For the bird itself, try and match the colours to the actual colours you see on your photo references. I shall use Cotman colours for this. I will use the intense blue and the Viridian hue. It's not often you can use a colour like Viridian on its own, but it works quite well for these feathers, these sort of iridescent feathers. So a strongish wash. I'm going to go back, keep with the number 4 brush at the moment, clean the brush this time so that I pick up the blue. And I'm going to paint the blue into the green. It's important to keep the colours flowing for softness and so that they blend together. But you can paint over the under painting, and when this dries, or you can probably see it now actually, the darker tones are there underneath this transparent colour. Now on the back here, don't paint this blue on the feathers along the back. These are iridescent feathers I'm painting here. It's a different type of feather with an actual blue colour here, so these need to be painted completely differently. So just the iridescent ones. Keep control of your brush marks and don't paint with your paint too dry. Just going backwards and forwards between the blue and the green almost randomly. Depends how the light hits this. Or you can brush them together. A bit of blue now added and brushed into that green and so on. So by keeping these colours clean, we can get that lovely kingfisher blue effect. Those are the iridescent blues, so we'll come back to that and we'll let that all dry out. Now while we are broadly getting the colour into the kingfisher, we can now address the texturing in here a little bit more. And we're going to use a dry brush technique. You can buy special brushes for this. I have this quite large Chinese brush, and you can see the sort of effect. There's a randomness to this. If this gets too wet, then it'll all clog together. So I'm going to mix up a colour. Because it's the wood, I'm going to just use the sepia, the dark. Now, can you see how that's all closed up? And that's no good now, so I'm going to just try and get some of that paint back into the palette to unclog it. But it's a good idea to have a bit of scrap, and you can, there we are, we're starting to get that sort of textured effect. Okay, I'll get rid of a bit of the darker mark here, that's still a little bit wet. And now you see there's still paint on there, but it's now much more open. And I'm going to just light touches across this, following the shape, is just apply some of that random texturing along here. following the grain in the wood. Okay, so this produces a lot of random marks, and it produces them quickly. What I'm going to do now to get this to a position where you're going to be happy with this, the result of this video, is to apply the orange. Now, I've not made any attempt to paint feathers as such at the moment, and so we can put the orange on, or I sometimes call this blocking in. We can block in the colour. An orange that you don't mix is going to be cleaner and brighter, and we certainly want to maintain the strength of colour in this very attractive bird. So although you could mix the red and yellow, you'll get a brighter colour if you just use cadmium orange. This is a bit yellow for the final finish, but that doesn't matter because it'll help the orange as we progress. So I'm just going to stick with this straight from the pan for this stage. Again, it's important with these colours to keep your palette and brush and water clean. So we might as well continue and paint these blue feathers around here. Now they are different to this blue as I mentioned, so I'm going to switch to cerulean blue. Now there's some darker feathers in the tail feathers. Try and get that feeling of, you know, these lighter feathers over the darker ones. That shape's important. We're just going to finish by completing the eye and doing some more work on the bill. So first the bill. I'm going to take some of that, the intense blue, because as I said, it's quite vibrant and it's very transparent. Okay. And I'm going to paint over this upper part again. Okay, and I'm going to take some of the black, which was the burnt umber and ultramarine blue. But I'm going to leave a little bit of light from the earlier wash just along the sides so that it's not a solid colour anymore. And I'm going to use this colour also on the top part of the bill now. This is the dark colour. Okay, so I'm going to darken that, but I'm going to bring this dark. Dry the brush and just pull this dark back over the upper mandible to take the flatness off of that tone up there. So I have a dark tip for the bill. Try not to lose that point. Yeah, there's a little, if I try and fiddle around with that, with the surrounding area wet, it's going to run into a problem. So I'll come back to that. Now, we're going to put the little catch light in the eye, but there's a little trick I like to use with the eye, and that is, if the light's coming from this direction here, you will get a catch light on that side of the eye. But because the lens of the eye is transparent, the sun will diffuse through it a little bit and just lighten up a little bit on the other side of the eye. So what I like to do is just lift out. This is a number 2 brush, or 1 or 2 brush depending on your size, and just lift out a little bit of that eye. If you lift out too much, you can always take some black and just cut it back in again. It's a good idea to give an impression of the pupil. So the next thing is to lift out a little here where it's reflecting the sky, not right at the edge, and just pull that back a wee bit. And then I'll be using a little permanent white. This is designer gouache or gouache, and a small amount of that to hit my highlights. I find this more satisfactory than using masking fluid or any other way. And I can, like on the bill here, restore some of the light with this as well. But I'll show you on the eye. Take a little blob, that's a big blob. Take a blob of paint on the tip of this brush, straight from the tube. Position it carefully where you want the catch light, which is the brightest spot on the eye. And we'll just touch the paper with it, and that gives you that bright highlight that you get on shiny surfaces. Now we could use this in a different way on the bill. If you don't dilute it, you get the most intense light, but if you dilute it a little bit, you'll get a softer light, and you will see some of the colour from underneath, and it will just lighten it. So here I'm going to lighten the bill here, and with this I can remove that, start to remove that pencil mark. I've lost the eyelid a little there, but I can find it again later with some gouache. So I think I'm going to call that done for today, and we'll pick up next time and start the feathering detail. I hope you've enjoyed this. Good luck with it. Thanks for watching.